Back to the point, ladies, gentlemen. TuneCore, trademark, government, Davenport's, unemployment, or whoever isn't paying. Remember, legal side says legal. Whatever this little cocaine steal was, you guys and Mac Miller and Aaron Carter and everybody that died on the musician side during COVID, nobody saw any jocks die. So when you guys sit here and kind of compulsively lie of who's the quote-unquote healthier person or whatever this road is you guys took in the cover-up. Remember, my trademark, my copyright, everything else is the legal side for TuneCore, BMI. You guys gotta get your brains together on mental illness and functioning the legal side of the system. Seeing Grande and Benson and Miley and a bunch of the girls skinny as hell, doped out on cocaine, heroin, or whatever you guys are doing out there. And again, back in the 80s, it was Hoda Housewife during the delegations and all these different balances of the system versus greed. In between Atlantic Records and Def Jam and everybody else is going greed, shutting my business down, jealousy, whatever it was, staying major label versus platform. Those balances, the Hoda Housewife stuff, nobody's sharing their bank accounts like they used to back in the 70s and 80s for male and female. So at these turnovers, the divorce rates, divorces being a turnover, apartments, condos, houses at the realty market being a turnover. There's ups and downs in life. My grandma went through 6. The Great Depression, or World War II, the Great Depression, and then et cetera, et cetera. And then we went into the surplus and the Clinton years, and then Bush Jr. had a little recession or depression. Well, that was like a recession. He gave out stimuluses. That was my first house failure. And then I started a business for the second part. Then we have COVID. Again, I've already gone through basically 2 or 3 of these economic up and downs. And for these turnovers, the part where the collapse is coming, where you see it is, again, back in the 70s and 80s, husbands and wives used to share bank accounts where the women, when they would prostitute out or go and trick out, they would be able to leave one man and go to the other, non-possessive. They'd get the divorce. That's the point of policing, judges, divorce, everything else that balanced the system. So a girl could leave, the man makes more money, balances out his bank account, she gets half of the hard work she puts in raising the kid, everything else. And then when the divorce would happen, or the house sale would happen at the divorce, you have your escrow, you have your principal, you have your interest. And so within the payments of the house and the divorces and everything else at the balance, you don't share the bank accounts anymore. Now in the 90s, 2000s, we're 2026 now. A lot of the stuff that happened in the 2000s at the turnover, the last turnover, most men and women went full segregation where they don't, it's like partnerships. Even though they're married, it's partnerships. You don't see very many people sharing bank accounts now because the men are too paranoid from the cartel and mafia abuse years ago that the tricks and prostitutes would purposely get married to a man to leave with half the money, whatever else. But that was the balance of the system from Hoda Housewife, or the girls that would go out and trick, have somebody else help them. And so for me not getting unemployment, for me not even being able to share my own bank account with my wife and those same mafia paranoias and whatever else, you can't keep pushing forward trying to find this balance when that side of greed between Rockefeller, Atlantic, whatever else they're trying to play with me, on that side of, whether it's platform or major label or independent. I didn't see you guys bully Rich. I didn't see Eminem bully Rich or Yellow Wolf this hard. For some reason, I got bullied in a different way, in jealousy. And so when I'm going through, again, BMI and TuneCore and trademark and copyright, you guys are supposed to be the legal side that gives faith. And then, the cartel side where you're seeing whatever Grande, all these little murders that happen out in L.A. over stealing cocaine and dead president money off of royalty money. Mac Miller's dead. Grande got a big lump sum of all the features she did with Mac Miller during their relationship. And she isn't going to pay out to Mac Miller's family, brothers or sisters or anything. She's just collecting that money. It's dead president money. They call it dead president money, street side. And so, in terms of that balance, you guys have to be cutting out record deal checks. If you're getting dead president money, you got to pay it forward. Otherwise, there's going to be no balance, and this collapse is coming. We're not taking care of houses. I got a garage that was built in '96, and it's 2026. That's 30 years old. That needs new shingles. That were only 25-year shingles, and we're at a full, 30 years old. 96, 2006, 2016, 2026. So 30 years old on a 25-year shingle roof. I got a leaky corner. So right now I need that unemployment. I need that side. Otherwise, it's a condemned building. Go look at Detroit. Go look up the houses that they demolished years ago, about 15, 20 years ago, that they demolished whole communities, that the houses are considered condemned. And so in these foreclosures, that the market changes because husband and wives no longer, share bank accounts. The women aren't jumping over to the new man with a little bit of money to start off of for either business loans, for down payments on a new mortgage with their new, secondary husband or whatever else. And that market's full crash, it's collapse. So when I'm looking at the legal side of my trademark, my LLC, my copyright, TuneCore, everything else that's supposed to help me think I function, that's what the trademark's for, to protect me so my personal information doesn't get sold, my computers, plural, my laptop and my desktop, for whatever reason of jealousy of some perverted men that have a specific type of thirst. I just wanted to see what girls I was hanging out with, or if I was having sex with Mo or whatever else, and they're trying to blame me for somebody hacking my computer. I didn't go to school for that shit. You got to blame the hackers, and I'm not seeing justice on the oversight or tariff committee, the police department that I figured that did it for Scott Eisen, the police department, Matt Coran, the people that took it over aren't apologizing and say, hey, we got to fire Scott Eisenhower because his son's a pervert, whatever else, Dan Dean, whoever it is, playing this game with me mentally, and then stealing passwords and shit, stealing my royalties, whatever it is you guys did. You can laugh all day long, you're corrupted, but the balance ain't there. My garage roof's going to shit. And I'm telling you, the next person moving in, there's no jobs here in town. So where's the next person going to move in? It's just going to be a condemned building. My grandpa built this shit 40 years ago. Right now is the time for them shingles just to fix one piece of plywood that has a leak on the garage. If you wait 5-10 more years after somebody buys my house right now, which you guys want me to discount my house, which shouldn't happen, you're collapsing the economy even more. And then, again, Matt Coran or whoever's the new oversight after Scott Eisenhower got fired for the town didn't say, hey, Owen, we got rid of a crook cop. Sorry, we hacked your computer illegally. Here's your new computer from the police department. It's our job to protect you, to protect the citizens of town instead of protecting their goddamn selves and their police brutality so they can keep pictures of ex-girlfriends or whatever else in their jealousy because they hang out with cute girls, whatever. And at the same side of the trick, the girls are feeling violated. If anybody saw Violetta crying, Lauren Lovett crying, Paris Jackson, and Jessica Alba's face, if men learn how to read these facial expressions of what the justice would be. Again, one, I didn't hack my own computer. Two, I'm trying to protect these effing women of what my job description is supposed to be. Three, you see all their depressed faces knowing they're feeling violated, and yet the jocks are sitting there throwing hissy fits, whether it's for Samantha or whatever else, and they're going into this possessive feature. The possessiveness is why they're not sharing their bank accounts anymore. And you go into that possessiveness, and it isn't helping the market at these turnovers. So now the women are fighting with their ex-boyfriends, the possessiveness, not sharing the money, the bank accounts, whatever. And again, the jocks, it doesn't feel right that they have to be highest labor horses, which is what Rockefeller calls it, my horses, labor horses. And then the other side of it, where I'm a street kid, I already gave my bosses my time and a half and everything else of the under the table game or 2 sets of books game, thinking I could have trust in the system, thinking that it'd be there for me. And they're on the run right now with business and whatever else. Yeah, they're shutting their business down to pay it because they're paying 2 sets of books before, but yet I got these timesheets that are unaccounted for that I know Travis Davenport burned right in front of me. And so when I go through these delegations mentally of what sanity is, how the system functions, where to have faith, were to put my time and material without becoming a drug dealer and actually, playing what this market's supposed to be for how many jobs are here in Black River Falls and standing in the food pantry line. I'm going through the whole thing from the grassroots up. Food pantry line, shit, there's 150 people, 85 to 150 people that are looking for jobs on it. And that's just the food pantry line, let alone sitting in line for food stamps. Food stamp side's beating me up, even though I do everything nuts on to the time that they ask. They keep making up something new every time, even though I'm under the income limit of $1,630 or whatever it is for my TuneCore money or my profits that, again, was stolen from me from the other side where I shouldn't even need it. Between my unemployment and the TuneCore profits that should have been there had they not illegally taken down my song with the trademark, copyright, LLC, everything else. And it's just a distribution company. I shouldn't even be on food stamps right now. So this penny pinching side to the greed for hope and faith creates depression. You guys think you're getting away with something in your mental illness, but you're stepping outside of humane. It's one thing to be screwed over by the cartel and the cocaine game, but yet you see Bloomberg and everybody else stealing cocaine from, Lil Wayne or Snoop Dogg or whoever else the dealers are in their east-west drama. And so for me, Hoda Housewife, between the whites, blacks, and Mexicans, the Rockefeller, Bloomberg, that created Buffett racketeering game, they already got tons of black people mixed in with it. That's what mixed people are, minority, mulatto. And then we got tons of white Mexicans and stuff now. Shout out to Jackie Lomas and stuff like that for loving another culture appropriately, that they love you back. And so America's predominantly white, black, Mexican. And yet we have Asians here. We're starting to crossbreed. Shout out to John Schumann and his effort. Shout out to Mark Zuckerberg and his effort. And again, trying to love outside of the culture and minority. But at the same time, I'm getting just as pissed off to the legal side that's supposed to help that turnover. So my baby mama leaves. I pay child support for, about 13 years or whatever. And I put myself on child support, which again, I've paid out over, close to $17,000 that I'm about to finish paying off at the sale of my house just to make sure they're living, which is like racketeering me. And now I'm trying to get my unemployment and everything else. And the other side is saying it doesn't exist because they don't want me to have one of their girlfriends. And so the men that are holding back the bank account sharing at the marriage, and then it's the same men that are holding my unemployment, they're getting so possessive over their females, so possessive over the money, that the turnover money isn't there anymore, and this balance is starting to disappear. Like this collapse is going to come pretty hard. So it's either going to be the nuke or World War III. And the peaceful protests we're trying to have to the other side of moving back into the city. I live in a small town of basically 4,000, 5,000 people. For them to update the sign of this population boom, baby boom, and establishing what the job is. When again I go to the food pantry line, 85 to 150 people depending on the day, and that's just on a Monday. And they have 3 or 4 food pantry days a week. I haven't shown up any of the other days yet to see how many show up the other days. And so in that, it's nerve-wracking that I, a male with a lot of resume, go to my LinkedIn, spray foam home builder, I've cleaned showers for truckers, dance teacher, Arby's, Subway, I've made you food, deep fried cooked Flying J, made you food, worked at a hotel, I've made beds, done plumbing, fixed jacuzzis, jack of all trades, master of none. In this process of finding what that place is, and all they care about is after I gave up custody, they got pissed off at me. They weren't going to get that $2,000 in child support money at my $1 million deal. And Bird and M and Snoop and everybody else reneging on the damn record deal itself. And on the other side of where the million comes from, whether it was the offer for Shay or the offer for me to go work for Death Row or to work for Atlantic or Def Jam, and yet they're all reneging on the record deals. It's taking forever because there's millions of choices, and all these people are going so indecisive. Just because I can't sing like Grande doesn't mean I'm not passionate. Again, Britney Spears really can't sing as good as Christina Aguilera or Jessica Simpson, but she was the best damn performer he had versus Jessica Simpson and Christina Aguilera in their time and era. And so for me, comparing myself to Justin Timberlake or Omarion or Usher, I can't sing like them boys, which is just a step below of what that type of singing would be. But to the character and persona of good business, the legal side isn't cutting it on the same, like they're damn near just as corrupt as the cartel is, which again, it's bad for the environment. One, two, the other side of the turnover. Again, a turnover is every year you have kids that become freshmen in college, and then every year they become a sophomore, every year they become a junior, every year they become a senior, and then they exit. And a turnover is you clean the apartment, that's your security deposit, you repaid the thing, and that's the money circulation. And you always give that security deposit. The security deposit is my unemployment. And for some reason, this side of the system, they said, well, you got to make sure you have your stuff in to get food stamps on August 5th. And I make sure I'm there dead nuts on time. Yet when I'm sitting here asking for my unemployment, we're looking at how many years gone past to what their side is, and they don't fucking care. And so at this turnover, because men and women aren't sharing bank accounts, there isn't any turnover money there. The jocks, think every girl's in the cartel or mafia now, so they're not sharing bank accounts, so therefore there's no turnover money there. That's the female side of divorces. Me as a single man already going through a divorce, I can't get my unemployment, which I saved from having a disabled mom. I've never collected one day of unemployment. Now I'm trying to collect it, which is a lot of back pay for the system. But at the same time, of not being a drug dealer, just a druggie, to the side of, hey, my mom was disabled. I was able to live off of Social Security. Thank you to the system. Thank you to Social Security. Now when my mom's passed, I was saving up that unemployment so I could survive this, so I could fix my garage and do this stuff. And now they don't want me to fix the garage. It's just going to go into condemned. Why even cut down the trees when you're just going to start throwing mold and throwing water on it and everything else, in terms of you guys aren't facing the facts of your side of the system. So this is where the collapse is coming. People can't get siding. People can't get their roofs done, etc., because you guys aren't paying it out on time when the men have the energy. When men have the energy, I'm fixing my roof on my garage for free for you. I already work for Simmons Roofing. I learned how to roof, do everything right. Technically, that's a $6,000, $12,000 fix. I did it for free out of the kindness of my heart because it's my own house. You're getting the labor cheaper compared to what the banking has to do when it goes into foreclosure or whatever just to fix it up. You guys are ungrateful as hell. And I can't get my unemployment. Now I'm like, well, leave it on to the next person. But then again, I got to take a loss on my house and everything else like this. This turnover doesn't exist. So between the corruption of TuneCore, BMI, the song takedown, even though I have a copyright, even though I paid cash for it, whatever games you can want to play, acting like the cash just didn't exist because it was like a garage sale. Like a garage sale, I bought features, T-Rone, Kevin Gates, didn't do anything contracted based on a man's word. They're like, we robbed you of your money. You didn't do anything on paper or contract or whatever. Ha ha ha. We get to run away with your cash. And I'm sitting here laughing. Yeah, ha ha ha. When you buy a freaking basketball hoop at a garage sale for $100, it's as is, and you don't bitch about it, and you're happy about it. For some reason, the greed side isn't happy. They just bought a basketball hoop from my garage sale, basically, or I bought it from theirs. Their side's coming back for the more money side of it, saying, "Hey, well, you got to give me $2 million for a used basketball hoop for this feature." I'm like, "No, I'm good. It's a used basketball hoop, bro." Nothing to do with racism. It's just business. But at these turnovers, I got a roof to fix. I needed to get a new car when my disabled mom passed away. Eminem's mom survived until he was 53. My mom only survived until I was 30, 38, 39. So Eminem's mom passed away 10 years. 10 years within his lifetime. He was 53. I was 37 when mine passed away because my mom was shot up with Haldol, being a schizophrenic or whatever. And so in this turnover of me needing that unemployment money for whatever reason to the system, of me having a disabled mom, no dad, no brothers or sisters, I ain't got no place to lay my head. I've been at Quick Trip for the last year, no electricity for the last year and 3 months because the police want to play some gang shit and some power trip after grandma passed away, assisting BMI and TuneCore and the dead president money, and they were hoping I would have committed suicide by now. And I'm staying strong to this point, but again, now they call it economics, which is a premeditated Ponzi scheme, saying, hey, we're allowed to take down your song. Now you got to sell your house and get a lawyer if you really want weirdo song back up to make your million or whatever, but now I got to sacrifice the legacy of the house the song was even recorded in, which again, the legacy of the property, just like Neverland Ranch for Michael Jackson, just like Elvis Presley's mansion, that's a museum now. The legacy of my grandpa building the damn building itself and me building the studio myself is the legacy itself that would have drew in more money to the customers that liked me, that were happy I did shit for a little bit cheaper than the average Joe. And for some reason, making a living wasn't cool enough for them. They got so jealous I was making a simple living. Most DJs charge what, $600? I was charging $250, $300. Just to make sure some poverty people could have a DJ for their freaking wedding too. And they were unappreciative, and they had to fuck up the money, killing Raw Raw, killing DJ Young, other investments I had in this shit. Y'all motherfuckers act like I ain't supposed to be pissed off at this shit. Saying, "Mommy, mommy, where's my song? Mommy, mommy, get a lawyer, be a part of the system." As if the lawyers weren't premeditating that shit the whole time, just playing games with their wieners. Wieners. A bunch of lawyers just playing with their goddamn wiener. Well, on the side of comprehension to what commission is, to where this turnover is, there ain't no goddamn turnover money. Half the hoes, the housewife, half of these girls I'm talking to that were married in the first place, and I'm sitting there saying, well, you able to get out of that divorce with the bag for that hoe to housewife shit? You able to get out of the divorce with the bag? They're saying, oh, and I miss you too. I appreciate you being patient in terms of the tricks. Back from elementary or middle school, now the jocks are so paranoid they're going to lose their businesses or their houses. They went straight possessive, shut down the system just to hold on to the women, just to hold on to the money, creating a depression, not letting go of the women. That the changeover happening. Well, for me, white, black, Mexican, whatever else, we already have a United States full. Like, hey, I'm a genuine love person. I got a girlfriend from Vietnam. She knew I loved her genuinely. Got an old Mexican girlfriend, Zara. She knows I loved her genuinely. Got a ex-black girlfriend. She knows I loved her genuinely. And so in this thought process, I'm like, well, I'll go to Polynesian since America's filled with blacks and Mexicans and stuff. This isn't being racist, but in terms of loving genuinely, now I'm wondering where the hoe to housewife is for the turnover to find some of that money to keep the business going or start the business, at the corruption of whether or not I invest into a lawyer or play these other fucking games and economics. At the same time, they're playing to death to keep their hoes for their side. So I'm looking at Lil Wayne and Snoop Dogg street side saying, hey, if Samantha or Jackie or whatever else made y'all fucking some money, cocaine, heroin, whatever else, that side, what, bam, hold a housewife. If they made you $10 million over the last 15 years, since we've been out of high school, 20 years, if they made you $10 million, aren't you supposed to give out the one when they go to hold a housewife when it's time to retire? And again, we're getting close to that age now. And so again, for the ladies to understand it, all the money you made your dealers and shit, this is how the delegations used to work for the balance of the system back in the 80s. This new Donald Trump, Bloomberg, Rockefeller, they were all passed down money. They're so far asleep into Instagram staring at one picture at a time, they don't even realize what just happened street side for all that other shit, how many artists, musicians, and everything else got killed, but we ain't see one jock get killed during COVID of dying from coronavirus. Only proven the jocks went out so greedy, even these goddamn overstimulation and titty pictures from the Cash App and whatever else. Wo Vicky and them be talking about on their side of it. They're so fucking thirsty for them titties and new pussy pictures from everybody else. They went out stealing a bunch of cocaine, heroin, marijuana from a bunch of motherfuckers. All the artists and shit that do the homework, do the driving and shit for their side, went out stealing that shit. Killed a bunch of artists on our side. And they killed me legally. I'm just a druggie. I'm not a dealer and I'm not a cop. I'm just the druggie in the middle. The cops are top, drug dealers at the bottom, right? How it's supposed to be. And I'm sitting in the middle just as a druggie trying to run the business, saying, hey, I give money to the cops when I get pulled over for the drugs. I give money to the dealers. I'm the one that's feeding the system. This is the quote-unquote middle class. The druggies feeding the middle class. I feed the cops and I feed the dealers. I get pulled over, busted. I make both of them pissed off. At the same time, I haven't lost any product. I don't really owe much money out there. And on that other side of it, for the turnovers, hold a housewife, unemployment, the girls that are allowed to get divorces have, get half of the house and everything else at the turnover. doesn't exist now. Half of the girls are so goddamn trapped because the men don't share bank accounts like they used to back in the 70s and 80s and early 90s or whatever, that they don't do that anymore in the partnerships, and there's no turnover money. The men at the top got so possessive in law, no $1 million record deal checks, they took those away. Unemployment, they're playing those fucking tricks. And again, it's just a depopulation. And all the elite are doing this. They fucking hit the deer on the goddamn interstate. It's wiggling on the side of the road, and they're fucking laughing, and they went driving away. A good gentleman, if anybody remembers back to Boy Scouts honor, if you hit the fucking deer on the interstate, if it runs out in front of you and you hit the deer, if you're doing depopulation, you pull over, you get out of the fucking car, you slit the goddamn deer's throat. That means drop the fucking nuke, get the depopulation over with, and stop playing with your fucking wiener. You know what I'm saying? Just stop playing with your fucking